Hi everyone, Dr. Bruce here. We're going to continue our look at the endocrine system by beginning with the thyroid and parathyroid glands. So you remember where the thyroid gland is at the base of the neck? It contains four little structures on the posterior side of the thyroid gland called the parathyroids. The parathyroids secrete a hormone called parathyroid hormone, or PTH, which helps to regulate blood calcium levels. So PTH will raise blood calcium by stimulating osteoclastic activity in bone. So the osteoclasts basically work on the bone and release the calcium and move it into the blood. So that raises the blood calcium. The other hormone that's important comes from the thyroid gland itself. There are cells in the thyroid gland called C cells that secrete the hormone calcitonin. Calcitonin has the opposite effect of parathyroid hormone. So it lowers blood calcium by inhibiting the osteoclast. So just the opposite effect there. Let's move on to the pancreas. The pancreas secretes two hormones that are important in blood glucose regulation. One is, of course, insulin, and the other is glucagon. Both have opposite effects with regard to blood glucose regulation. Insulin lowers blood glucose, so it's secreted by the beta cells of the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, and it inhibits glucose production in the liver and also has another effect which we're going to look at in a minute. Glucagon is secreted by the alpha cells, and it does the opposite of insulin. It raises blood glucose by promoting the conversion of glycogen to glucose, or glycogenolysis. So glycogen, remember, is the storage form or inactive form of glucose. So when you basically break down the glycogen and convert it to glucose, it raises the blood sugar, or glucose. Here's another thing that insulin does. In cells such as muscle cells, we see these insulin receptors and these GLUT4 transporter proteins. So insulin will attach to the insulin receptor located in the cell membranes of these cells, and when it does, it opens up the GLUT4 transporter to allow glucose into the cell. So glucose then is used for metabolism in order to produce ATP to allow, like, say, skeletal muscle to contract. One of the problems happens with like insulin resistance, where the insulin receptors are down-regulated, they're not functioning, and so insulin becomes high and glucose cannot enter the cell, so glucose is also high. Let's move on to the pineal gland. The pineal gland is a small gland in the posterior portion of the diencephalon, and it secretes the hormone melatonin. Melatonin regulates the sleep-wake cycles. So melatonin is basically secreted when you're going to sleep. Now you can buy melatonin in health food stores, like a version of it, and some people use this for combating things like jet lag or to try to get them to sleep. All right, well, hopefully you've learned something about the remaining glands of the endocrine system. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.